What's going on at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, but Sanjay Gupta is still with us, our chief medical correspondent. Thomas Frieden explaining what's going on. I think it's fair to say full transparency. Sort of alarming to me that there could have been other people who were infected, if you will, over these days since this individual showed symptoms of what was going on, now confirmed, the first confirmed case of Ebola here in the United States.
Yeah, I agree with you, Wolf. I was putting that together myself. What we just heard was that this was someone who traveled from Liberia back to the United States, arrived in the United States on the 20th of September. The person reportedly was not ill when they left Liberia, was not ill when they arrived in the United States. What we heard, though, after that was that on the 24th, 4 days later, they started to become ill. This person, I should say, started to become ill. 2 days after that, on the 26th, they went and sought out care, presumably at a doctor's office or the hospital. We're not sure where they went to try and seek care. But it wasn't until 2 days after that, then, the 28th, when they were put into isolation. So to your point, Wolf, from the 24th to the 28th, it sounds like this was somebody who was sick but was not in isolation. What is going to be absolutely critical, obviously besides taking care of this individual, is now to go back over those 4 days and figure out anybody that person may have had contact with. That's absolutely critical. It is absolutely crucial to do that to try and prevent other people from possibly spreading this virus. It is called contact tracing. And as Dr. Frieden pointed out, it is a mainstay of controlling these sorts of things. But obviously 4 days is a significant period of time, and there could be many contacts the person may have had. Once they find those contacts, they got to monitor those people for 3 weeks, 21 days, and make sure they don't develop any signs of fever, because that could be one of the earliest signs of an Ebola infection. So a couple of priorities, Wolf, as Dr. Frieden laid out. I think, as you said, transparently, first and foremost, you have the first person diagnosed with Ebola in the United States. The care for that person, obviously, of paramount importance. But then going back, finding all those contacts, and really monitoring them closely, putting them in a situation where they can't possibly spread Ebola, and monitor to see if they develop any fevers. So that's what's happening right now, Wolf, here in the United States. This has not happened before. It's happening a lot in West Africa, as Dr. Frieden pointed out. But from a medical standpoint, this is historic, what Dr. Frieden has just outlined.
And it's very worrisome. Those people who had contact, and I want you to define contact, what that means, because it's not easy to spread Ebola, but they're going to be put in isolation now for, as you point out, for 3 weeks themselves.
That's right. And, you know, when we talk about Ebola, again, you know, terms do matter here. It's not a particularly contagious disease. It doesn't spread through the air, for example, like a flu virus. But it is infectious disease, which means that even a small amount of the virus that you get on your skin, for example, can possibly cause an infection.
Well, let me interrupt for a second, Sanjay. You shake hands with this individual during those 4 days between September 24th, the time the first symptoms showed up, and September 28th, last Sunday, when he was finally admitted into a hospital. If he shook hands with you, you'd have to go into isolation for 3 weeks. Is that right?
That is right, and you know, I want to be very careful in how we describe this, but keep in mind that this is something that is spread through bodily fluids. Once somebody starts to get sick, it means the virus is being excreted in their bodily fluids. Shake hands with somebody. We all have breaks in our skin. Even if you don't, you look at your hands, you think, I don't have any breaks in my skin. We all have minor breaks in our skin, and there is a possibility. It's not a large possibility, but it's a possibility that some of the virus can be transmitted that way. So any contact, any contact this person had over those 4 days between when they became ill and before they were in isolation, they need to be found. They need to be put in isolation. They need to be monitored for 3 weeks. And that's a big task. Again, we don't know. Maybe this person just went home and had very little contact with anybody. We don't know.
In any outbreak.
All right, hold on for a second, Sanjay. I want to go back to Dr. Thomas Frieden, the director of the CDC.